Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining this session of Spring Global Delivery Solutions. What we want to talk with you about is about taking friction and barriers out of cross-border deliveries. And we want to talk you through some stories, but actually also have some stories together with you. So that's also the reason why you've received some colored paper to do some interaction in the second part of the conversation. We will do a brief introduction of the company, and in an interactive way in the second part of the session, we will have a conversation, hopefully, with you about friction in cross-border deliveries. Let's first briefly introduce our company and ourselves. This is Kelly van der Weg, Head of Business Solutions of Spring Europe. I'm myself, Thijs Boel, Managing Director of Spring in Europe. So we are Spring Global Delivery Solutions. But actually, what is now really Spring, and what is also the relation with PostNL? What we do in a nutshell is try to make the complexity of cross-border deliveries very simple. That is what we try to do. And actually, you as e-tailer, and I see in the room also in your red badges, I see your e-tailers. Actually, you want to focus on growing your business, and we want to help you with that and reducing the friction. We're doing this together with PostNL. The question often asked is, okay, what is now exactly the correlation between Spring and PostNL? Actually, it's very easy. Spring is the international arm of PostNL. So PostNL is the Benelux parcels and mail network, and Spring is the international company of PostNL. So as Spring, we act as the agent, as the exclusive agent for our Benelux propositions, and we are connected via PostNL with worldwide postal deliveries. Then a little bit more about the model of Spring, because Spring is it's much broader than the Benelux proposition, because actually Spring is doing cross-border brokerage of solutions everywhere in the world. What we really try to focus on is take away hassle of cross-border deliveries. So we want you as an e-tailer to focus on what you're good at, on selling in the markets you want, and we help you with that. So we take away that hassle and tricky kind of processes like customs process or returns process. And later on, we want to talk with you about that. And you will hear in the story of today and in the examples also a lot about sustainability, because we also, I think, are in a journey as an industry, I think, in making our industry more sustainable, and we want to take a leading role in that. We will talk you through in that. So then a bit more concrete, okay, the international part of PostNL, what is that then concretely? We are present in a few continents, Asia, Americas and Europe. And in Europe, we have presence in basically almost all of the countries. If you would visit our stand here centrally in the hall, you hear our colleague from Poland, Italy, Spain, UK, Germany, Netherlands, etc. So this is our presence in Europe, in Asia and in Americas. We are a quickly growing company with new countries added recently and continuously doing. And as said, we are, let's say, part of the PostNL group and backed up by our mother company. How we try to differentiate ourselves is really to start with a customer need, and that's also the basis of the conversation of this morning. So we don't start with a network and bring that to customers, but actually the other way around. It's the customer need, and how can we create solution to fulfill that customer need? We're really quite a people-centric organization, meaning concretely, actually, we find that people are the most important assets that we have. So highly motivated, creative, and passionate people is what we can deliver to you. And that's also what customers are giving back to us. It's not just a nice marketing story, but it's what customers are giving back to us, reflected in high NPS scores. Okay, this is a very brief introduction of the company. But you may ask yourself, okay, why? Yeah, what is a relationship with Spring help me? Why would you work with us? So what we now want to talk about a little bit more is how we work, not just what we do, because how we work, because we think that actually that is an important element of a relationship that you have with the customer, is the way you work together and that you really feel that you are in a cooperative partnership. Of course, we thought about it, and we were preparing this session, and what you could then do in a session like this is give super nice figures, growth figures, how fantastic you are, etc. But we thought, is that now really interesting for you to listen to? Is that now really what you want to hear? So we thought, let's actually do it the other way around. And also show you some examples of how we're learning and how we're developing very quickly, and actually also how we have made mistakes. So let's not only show you the bright stories and all the big successes, but actually also show you the things that went wrong and how that failure has led to learning and successes. So what we want to give as an impression of how we work is not is actually also talk you through those learnings and also failures. Because we think that actually the failures or the experience that you have had are learning you, let's say, to make better solutions. And let's talk you through some concrete examples of that. So, as I said, I don't want to give, like, let's say, a super flashy story how fantastic we are, because we don't pretend to be perfect. Actually, what we do pretend is actually that we learn, develop, and make better solutions for you. Let's make that a bit more concrete. Sorry, I was a bit too quick in that. This is just a bit to give you a bit of an overview of I call it a bit like an ecosystem of partners, front-end integrations, and customers that are connected to Spring, and where we have this very intimate relationship with. But as I said, we want to make complex things simple. Actually, we always say, actually, we like complexity. When the world is complex, I think there is room to help you, right? So reducing complexity is what we try to do for you, making sure that you can focus on your business and you can really grow your own business. Let's give some concrete examples of things that we've learned and also things that we have done wrong or mistakes that we've made in order to make better solutions for customers like yourself. Kelly and myself will talk you through some of these examples to show you more concrete what we're talking about. We have 4 examples of learnings and experiences, and also that shows what we think are some of these complexities in cross-border business. We will talk about solutions that we developed towards the USA, which actually were not successful, but have learned us a lot to bring us new full DDP solutions. We have an example of where we thought we had a quick win in using a return solution from our mother company, PostNL, which conceptually was quite logical, but in the end wasn't helping and actually wasn't taking away those barriers of our customers. And we have some developments to show of our transition ourselves of a more mail-oriented company into a full e-commerce company. And also I want to come back, as said, on CO2 reduction and how that development is taking place. Kelly will take the floor for the first 2 examples. Kelly.
Yeah, thanks, Thijs. A nice way of putting that I'm responsible for the failures, but let me explain how that went, because it's been quite an adventure. We've been into e-commerce quite lively the last 5 years. Well, quite successful as well, because we work quite closely together with PostNL, which gives us a lot of leverage, covering more than 200 countries overall. But the downside, let's say, of the postal world is that, well, it's quite stable, it's positive, but it's not that fast, it's not that transparent, it's not that quick. You can't leverage really in rate differentiation, and that is, of course, the variables that our customers would like to have. So we decided 4 years ago, okay, let's go commercial on destination USA. We're quite a pragmatic company, so we like to see ourselves as being a startup mentality. So we said, what do we need? We need a line haul, we need a broker, we need data, and we need a final mile, and we need to translate that into a one-stop shop solution for our customers. So we thought, okay, let's bring these things together. And actually, we achieved that in 3 weeks only. So that was quite successful in the end. What did we do? In the end, we were able to ship forward a couple of loads towards the USA, but then the shit hit the fan, because the final mile delivery went quite properly. But then we discovered, okay, we had some design flaws in our concept, because we did not anticipate on the volumetric component in air capacity. We did not anticipate on potential returns and having to mimic the data flow into our solution as well. We calculated wrongly, so we didn't make any money. Actually, it was quite a bleeder. So in the end, we delivered successfully. The customer didn't notice that much in the end. But for ourselves, yeah, this was really not the way moving forward. So we had to learn from that. And in turn it did, because luckily, and many companies don't see it that way, but we actually did, Brexit came across. We were nervous for that already for 2 years, but really this solution set gave us all the insights we needed to build a proper solution to move forward with. So what was the first thing that we did? We had a lack of customer knowledge. We got to find people, which is our core competency, to give us proper context on how to do it. Because you're also liable. We need to take stance in what position we take within that solution set. Are we the owner of the goods? Are we just the exporter? Are we just the facilitator? There are different roles to play. We insourced part of this logistic because we didn't want to be dependent on other parties executing these processes for us. Next to the fact that all these particles in the supply chain need to make money, and that is not in the end to the benefit of our customers. We are a broker, so we rely on services that our partners provide us, but of course we need to be efficient to stay relevant. We took stance in what does actually the consumer need, and yeah, I've been visiting some events the last yesterday, and it's all about the consumer perspective, right? You need to have a one-stop shop with no surprises from the consumer perspective, and how do you fit that all in with some reversed engineering to one click in a basket ordering a good, because you don't want to have nasty surprises on invoices at your doorstep. You don't want to have to pay excessive rates for customs fees. You want to know what the VAT entails, but you also want to know upfront, how can I return my good if it doesn't fit or if I don't want it? So all these elements we took in place. So you have to think about cleansing your data. You have to think about enriching your HS code, your harmonized standard codes referring to a single good. You have to be smart on what VAT levels apply to an underwear or maybe a television, whatever. So all those elements are put in place. You can imagine 20 different parties that we're working with. We comprise that, and in turn, we own this full supply chain for a consumer perspective with a one-stop shop. And this model is modular. And that helps for us because we're now expanding not only to the UK, we have solutions to Australia, to Canada, and foremost we're building capabilities on USA. So those were really important learnings. I had some nightmares, some hard days of sleep, but in the end, yeah, it turned out that our solution to the UK has become the golden egg in Europe. That's not the only failure. I'm responsible for more failures. Returns, a hassle for everyone, let's say. But yeah, we've been in that game for quite a long time. We had a commercial proposition backed up by PostNL, a platform that has been there for a decade or so. But then you also need to look at your internal organization. And quite often, of course, companies tend to keep that away from customers, but it does have an impact on how effective you can be. So we decided, let's go for a return proposition, which is out there, and build our commercial capabilities around that. Well, that didn't function because, well, the system was outdated. It would cost more effort to create proper solutions, and we didn't have the agility to expand the network with all kinds of solution sets. So it failed tremendously. It still exists, but we moved away. What did we do? We burned all our ships, and instead we built our platform bottom up. What not only with the experiences we had, we did extensive chats with our customers, and actually they are responsible for how our returns proposition functions right now. It means we were searching for a developer where we had dedicated capacity on building it from scratch. It didn't exist. We saw that it's so relevant for our customers to have an integrated platform, because quite often you see two different sets, two different integrations, two different data flows, and it can't be mimicked. Neither can you do any data analysis on it, and you want to bring that together in one platform. We use the data that our consumers and customers already provide for our forward flows, so we don't have to ask anything in addition to be sure to retrieve your item, your unwanted item. And we are also mimicking our logistical network because as a broker, we cooperate with all kinds of companies. Many of these companies that you see here are both partners, competitors, customers, as well as distributors. But we mimic our network, decreasing our CO2 levels up to 0 because we're using exactly the same truck network. So yeah, those were quite some good insights that we had. And nowadays it's called Spring Back. It's an integrated return solution. We have only one API, one call, and you have all your dynamics into one environment. It took us 1.5 years to get there, and it's finally taking flight. So a good learning to have.
Thank you, Kelly. I think really good examples also to show a bit and also to be honest, I think, about, okay, I think we can be, we are agreeing that cross-border deliveries is quite a challenge every time, so many changes, and I think you have to learn very fast. And I think that's what we want to show you with these examples. Two more examples where actually you can see the kind of development and how we try to develop quickly. As I said, we have a history in mail, in postal. That's also where Spring in the early days came from. So when stepping on the wave of or riding the wave of e-commerce, we thought, okay, quite logical. Let's use also that logistical operational network that we already had, which was based on a mail, and let's try to use that, let's say, for our e-commerce purposes. We had quite a concentrated, consolidated network where we thought, okay, it makes logically sense to start using that. However, I think quite quickly we came to the conclusion that this operational set wasn't matching well enough. It was too concentrated, the distances were too long, and the cost level was not attractive enough. So what we did in the last years is actually very quickly expanding. I showed you the map of Europe before, where we are physically present. Actually, we're continuously expanding our network because our philosophy is now also operationally and commercially to be as close to the customer as possible, actually be there where the customer is. So our model is also, so we don't only say that, but we're also physically close to where our customers are, which means concretely that we have also operational hubs in the countries where our customers are and expanding. So from the 3-4 mail-oriented hubs that we had 4 years ago, we have now 11 e-commerce hubs in all the main countries in Europe, and we are continuously expanding that. We are expanding with 2 to 3 per year. As we speak, we're opening a second hub in the UK, a new one in Milan. We just opened a new one in Prague, and we're about to open one next year probably in Poland. So try to be quick, adaptive, be close to a customer, and that actually fulfills the customer needs best. And with these hubs, we can also create what our customers are really wanting. They want visibility on their flows. They want to see where their items are, and they want to quickly, let's say, have it in the network and be able to follow that as soon as possible. Then let's talk about sustainability. I think that's a topic in many of the sessions. I also joined quite a few sessions over the last day and a half. I think a lot of companies are thinking about it and also talking about it. I think here the most important, maybe it's not learning, but I think it's development is like, okay, it's good. We also at Spring, we work quite fast, I think, in saying, okay, we are part of a industry that is quite pollutive. We know that. We have and want to take responsibility on that. So we took some first steps. I have to say, maybe it's step 0 to say, okay, we start with compensating, but you don't really do something. You don't really reduce something. But we took that first step a couple of years ago. But I think the next step is be also honest in if you just compensate. That's why I call it step 0. It doesn't really reduce. So we're now in the fast transition from only compensating to real reduction. And real reduction, I think, in cross-border deliveries, it's easier said than done. But I think there are logical steps in between. So what we're currently doing is, okay, a logical first step is look to your road transport and really make sure that your road transport is as emission low as possible. So a next step we're currently taking, and will take place in the next 6 to 12 months, is make sure that the fuel you use on your road transport is as emission low as possible. And then also think about, because the big challenge for us, I think, all in being in cross-border e-commerce, of course, the big chunk of emission is in air transport. So the big conceptual challenge is, I think, for all of us, how to make significant steps there. I think no one has found yet the golden egg here, but I think also making already steps here. So don't wait for the perfect solution. That's my message here. Don't wait for the perfect solution. Already make first steps right now. That's what we are doing with step 0, compensation. Step 1, reducing where you immediately can do on real emission, which is road transport. And then the real big step ahead is go for significant reduction in air transport. So through these examples, we tried to explain a bit to you how we work, how we learn, how adaptive we can be, but also to be transparent in things are sometimes also not going completely right. Be transparent about it and learn from that. Okay, this is the introduction. This is just giving you a bit of flavor who we are, who we work, giving you some concrete examples. You've received some cards, so what we actually want to do right now is start to talk about some of these topics that are making cross-border delivery sometimes a bit complex and give friction in cross-border delivery. So we want to also hear a little bit back on your thoughts and the struggles that you are experiencing in that yourself. So let's have a conversation on that. We will also maybe ask some of you. There will be a microphone in the room, and we'll ask you some questions, and that's also where you have these colored papers for. Yeah, Kelly will guide us through.
Indeed. Well, we are slowly transforming into a tech company. Therefore, you have some pieces of paper in your hand. So we're going old school today. Yeah, let's make it a bit interactive because we're also looking for your insights. What we need to do to increase or better our performance, as well as we want to share our knowledge with you for you to better perform as well. Some quiz questions. So please raise the right color if you think you have the answer. The first question is, as of the 1st of July 2021, all imports are subject to EU VAT. Sellers and facilitating marketplaces can collect import VAT on import consignments up to what value? Who dares? The confronting part is, of course, that it's so obvious if you don't have the right answer. So I can imagine if you don't raise your hand, and I think our colleagues will get fired if they raise the wrong flag. But okay, the answer is 150 euro. Why is that important? Well, there are several reasons. First of all, you need to know it because it's the boundary of the shipping value that you can ship across without having to pay additional customs duties. So you might know there are 3 elements which determine the additional rate in one shipping across an EU border. So first of all, it's the admin fee, so something that customs requires from yourself. Then it's the VAT that builds up the rate. But if you go above 150 euros, which is just the equivalent of 135 pounds, you also have to pay duties, which is another percentage on top of that. It's important to know because, yeah, you can make your selling approach far more attractive, and you also need to educate your consumer on what to expect when they order something in your stores. It is our, let's say, not our niche, but it's our focus area to help customers in this range of products. That has to do with the value and how we can also ensure that. What the levels that we can compensate on it. But these are also the goods that are usually consumed by companies crossing an EU border. Any reflections on that? So for Spring, these type of customers with this average value are the ones that we closely cooperate with overall. Next try. Is it required to affix the commercial invoice to packages between the UK and EU? Yeah, it's a bit of a trick question. Yes, it is, but it doesn't necessarily have to be on the parcel or package itself. That makes a difference, right? Because I'm reading all kinds of paper, hassle, and admin we don't want. And the trick is, of course, to have a full digital flow for your consumers, not to have to do anything with it, for the seller not to have to attach it, for your workers not to have to apply it. Well, I made a calculation last night. If you, because the answer is it's yes and no, and it's depending on the origin. But we have a digital way of doing that, and it's all about retrieving the proper data, which we can hand over to tax and customs authorities, and that means that you won't have to apply your customs, your invoice on the item itself. We save 10,000 kilo of paper by not having to do that annually. So yeah, that's also CO2 perspective. So we have a full digitized flow where these invoices are not required to put on your item. There will be many more trick questions, so prepare on that. Well, this is an open question, but because this is the retailer section, I see. What destinations do you ship to overseas? And where do you have big issues or troubles, or where would you like to expand? Anyone? I probably can read your minds. It must be USA, it must be Canada, of course, the obvious destinations. We don't have them all at the moment, but with the capabilities that we have, we're building them one by one. It's an interesting part for us because this game is totally different than, let's say, the commoditized world within Europe. We're investing heavily in procuring our own freight and getting our own license to be able to ship ourselves, to have full control of that supply chain. And we don't want to create all kinds of solutions with half-empty belly cages traveling around the globe. So we also want to have, of course, efficient solutions. So at the moment, we're investing in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, USA. And this year, we will unlock these. And that will fully open up a non-EU environment for ourselves, adding up to our EU capabilities. Which one of you has a, let's say, I forgot a word, a proper return solution in place? Who has a return solution in place where a consumer can get a label with just a few clicks and drop off their parcel close to their home? Who has a return solution in place that was easy to integrate and available in EU and UK? Who has a return solution that is the same system as your forward shipment and is CO2 neutral? Who has it all? Well, most likely, and that's what we have learned through the hardships of building our returns proposition, many of our, let's say, colleagues don't have this, as well as our customers. It's either or you have a couple of elements, but the learning is to get an intrinsic solution where all these things can come together. So one-stop shop, one integrated platform, but foremost, of course, a proper solution to reach out to in the market. We have 110,000 pickup points in Europe and expanding rapidly, which is important because a consumer sees this as a hassle moreover. So they want to walk the least amount of miles, they want to do the least amount of printing, the least amount of data entry. So we have multiple solutions which live up to this expectation. If you want to know more, we can share a lot about it. Within how many days upon entry does the consumer has to return an item into the UK back to the EU? You might be thinking from a seller point of view, well, that's my choice, because I determine within which time frame I want this item to be returned. But there's relevance behind this question. Any idea? Don't see any cards. I need to see them.
Green.
Yeah, it's 90 days. But that's the formal aspect. It's not something we came up with. We're talking about UK specifically, and this is also something that is related to the UK. And it's bound or driven by HMRC, so Her Majesty's Royal Customs Authority. And why is this important for them? This is the time frame within they can accept a return and also do a refund on your admin fee as well as your customs fee and your VAT. So if you don't respect this time frame, then your consumer cannot get these amounts in return. So it's very relevant to educate also your consumers within what time frame you have to ship these items in return. Was this new to anyone, or probably it's okay? Well, the average return rate in e-commerce is 30%. Well, you might challenge, well, I sell books, I have 0%, or I sell clothing, I have 80%, but for us, at least on our data, it's 30%. So what is an average, or what is overall the main reason for consumers for wanting to return their item? Is it bracketing? So ordering multiple colors, sizes, flavors of the same product? Is it unclarity on your websites, unclear pictures or unclear product descriptions? Or is it not providing enough information? Yeah. Again, yeah, horrible. Of course, it's all the answers because it really depends on the model. that sellers have. And we try to pitch in on all of those solutions because return rates are by default costly. You don't want your item to be returned. They decrease your customer satisfaction. They're a nuisance. It is slow, but on the other hand, the consumer has the same commercial expectation as they do for forward. So they want to have their money in return swiftly. But for all the partners out there, it's a latent process. So it is deprioritized overall. So those are conflicting needs. And the goal is, of course, to bring that closer together. Yes, there are some specialists out there. They do have their own network, but we don't see relevance of building that ourselves. So we rather cooperate and bring all these things together. For us, it's about transparency. It's about being able to predict where your item is. And that, of course, decreases the number of questions and the pressure on your CX teams. Having a good return solution positively influences the opinion of the consumer towards your company. What are the key elements to have in place? I'm really curious what your drivers are. Yeah, I see a full house, another full house. Yeah, I get, indeed. Must be easy and fast. It needs to be a drop-off location around your corner. Paperless solution and the label in the box. And yeah, we have all these solutions fitted in one. Yes, indeed, this is sort of a marketing story, but it's also a learning, because if we wouldn't have this, we could not be successful offering this to the market. And yeah, that label in the box solution is usually perceived as the most simple solution for consumers, because you really don't want to do anything. You pack off your shoes, you fit them, and within 1.5 seconds you know they don't fit, you put it in the box, you go do your groceries, and you want to deliver the box again to the retail store. So we try to offer all of this in one-stop shop solution. What is for you the most relevant when making decisions on shipping providers? Is it price, is it speed, is it tracking, or is it sustainability? Okay, why is it speed? Oh, I need a mic, I guess. Because that probably depends on what you're selling, if you're a seller or a consumer.
I'd say that because consumers want more and more one-day deliveries and all these kind of things, so I'd say speed.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, okay, can imagine. Anyone else, what's important for you? Well, the new way of living is, of course, Q-commerce. So having your item within 8 hours. As a consumer, I think, why would I possibly need that? But okay, everybody has their own preferences. But yeah, since we are part of a big postal company, we have the luxury to switch between solutions. So that means we have access to this postal network. It's reliable, it's seemingly transparent, it's intermediate quality and speed, but it suffices for a lot. And we mix that up with our commercial routing, which could be next day delivery. You can ensure it, you can have high transparency, you can have big, large compensations. As a broker, we can optimally route that for you. And I think that's relevant to mention, because we can really blend these networks to your likings. So either you decide, hey, this is the average what I want to provide to the consumers, or you say, hey, I want to tweak it to this country, or for this segment of products, I want to be more swift. So that routing functionality, that is something that is built in our system, and you, as a customer or retailer, can really twist and tweak every button to optimize your routing throughout the globe. And that is something rather unique. So we can standardize it for you, or you can determine yourself what you want and to be able to twist on all these buttons. So that's a relevant core capability that Spring can provide. When shipping cross-border between customs territories, what do you find the most challenging? Are any of you shipping across EU boundaries? I think I heard a yes. Well, for us, to be honest, these were the main learnings, of course, and I shared in that example already. It is all of these elements. So getting your EORI number, registering in the IOSS context for you able to do your registration and your VAT registration and claims. Having the data elements, because customers also need to be helped in educating their consumers on what data to receive when entering an order. It's not just name, address, phone number, no, it's more details. Regardless of having to provide insights on all of the goods and actually the materials that your goods are made of for to be able to ship it to apply the proper VAT element. So those things are really imperative to be able to ship across an EU border. The environmental footprint. So we have launched a calculator which will show on an item level the traveling of your individual item, what the CO2 exposure is. And you can do something what you want with it. Either you can compensate, either you can make your consumer aware, or you can make a choice or provide a choice towards your consumers to go either way. And of course the tax and duty calculations. You don't have to do anything actively. If you provide the right input, it will pop out in the end. For the sake of your consumers. What is your biggest worry in rolling out return solutions? Is it cost? Is it implementation? Is it operations? Anyone has a striking example? Implementation. Can you please help me out? Why is that so hard for you?
It's more of a headache when it comes to integrations and just stacking integrations.
Yeah. What do you notice? Is it different than a forward integration, or is it a hassle per se?
It's just in general a big effort,
Okay.
a big workload.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to have the right IT capabilities. It costs a lot of money for.
Especially if it's a company that's not really focused on tech,
Yeah.
then most integrations come with a collaboration between the tech teams of the two companies.
Yeah.
Not in our case, but there are companies that don't have a tech team or have a very small one. So
Yeah. So what do you ship, if I may ask?
tech, consumer electronics,
Okay. And do you have high return rates?
90%.
Okay.
We do rental.
Oh, okay. Well, then for you it's more the forward model than the returns model almost. And do you have multiple suppliers which you work with?
Yes.
Okay.
So we provide everything from AirPods to washing machines.
All right. Okay. And do you have that? Then you don't have that one integrated overview. You don't have one data set. You have two partners or multiple to deal with.
Yeah, we have to work with multiple 3PLs, multiple suppliers, multiple carriers.
So you need a separate organization to manage the management almost.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a complex supply chain.
Yeah.
Can imagine.
We were thinking about, okay, what if we provide consultancy to the market and get our IT guys out there and helping our customers to integrate these solutions? Would that be something you would be willing to think about?
Well, yeah, that helps, and it helps to be able to compare costs, implementation costs.
Yeah.
I know that lots of, at least TMS companies, add it into their pricing model. What's their rate per hour for implementations?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where the cost comes in.
Yeah. And then we come a bit into the compliancy corner, right? Because not many companies want other people to come and write in their code or do integrations in their infrastructure. So yeah, we're struggling a bit with that as well. And the funny thing is, the integration itself, if you have the right capabilities, it takes a couple of hours, right? It's not something that is something magically out there, not to be accomplished. But yeah, you need to have the right expertise in-house, and we see in the market that is not readily available. So, okay, thanks for your feedback. Yeah. Any other nuisances? Any other barriers to propose your return proposition to the market? Yeah, this was the round of questions that I wanted to go through with you. But of course, these are the things that I wanted to share, we wanted to share. Are there any other things of which you say, hey Spring, what are you doing in the market? What can you deliver to us? Okay. And we must be very clear, Thijs.
Yeah, thanks a lot for joining. What we hope to have shared with you is a bit, of course, about our company, who we are, how we work. I think that is really important, that we want to share with you how we work with our approach. And these are just some examples of saying, okay, this is the way how we look at the market and how we try to help you. So also, thank you very much for your feedback. Because just try to think along, because I think that is the key. Try to think along that you as an e-tailer can concentrate in what you're good at, and let us help you with friction and barriers. And that's why we took some examples of EU, non-EU trade. Then we took some examples of returns and what comes with that. So we try to help you with that. We hope we have shared something with you, and we hope we have been transparent and open about this. And well, let's be in touch. Thank you very much for this talk, for your feedback, and hope you appreciate the rest of the day. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot.